Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, boils and ghouls even, welcome back to Sammy Synister Slaughterhouse. And you know I'm happy to be here. You know I had to rock the Lucha mask. And you know why you clicked the link, because we were reviewing my favorite wrestling in the entire world, Lucha Underground. So this is going to be Season 3, Episode 1, Cero Muero. And I'm sure I'm butchering that because I'm terrible Spanish. But man, this is going to be some great stuff. So as always, tell us what you think over in the comments. Let us know if you give it a win, give it a loss, or give it a tie. Of course, I'm going to give this a big win. They said going into this season that storytelling was going to play a much bigger part in their and they've, which is bananas to me because they've had the best storytelling on TV. Or at least the best storytelling in wrestling for 2 seasons now, easily. And they said they're going to put more into their storytelling, and it really shows right off the bat. So I'm going to give this a big win. Now, one thing I want y'all to tell me at the end here is one thing. Am I noticing just little things that directors and writers and such don't like? You're just little things that they're doing that I'm seeing, or if I'm just way overanalyzing a couple of things. I mean, it could be a little bit of both, but I mean, I just noticed a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, again, my handwritten notes I left at work, so I'm having to go by some internet recaps and kind of remember some stuff as I go. Now, one funny thing I did realize when I pulled up this episode to watch it last night, because I did watch it as it aired, I watched all of last season on the non-HD channel because I'm dumb. So I finally switched over to my DVR to the HD channel of El Rey, and I feel like much a dum-dum. Now, one thing I did notice, you know what, we'll say that. We'll get that in a little bit. All good Lucha Underground shows start with a great opening segment, and this is no different here. We start off with Dario Cueto, and again, as one of the chairmen of the Dario Cueto 1980s fan club, I just want to throw out there how much I love Dario Cueto. Starts off with him just doing pull-ups in a cell. So we know he's in jail. We saw him get arrested at the end of last season, but it's an undisclosed amount of time since he's been gone. We have no idea how long it's been. Has it been a couple weeks? Has it been a couple months? I think we can safely assume that it hasn't been very long, at least in relation to what his crimes were, because he's being released, and as he's being released, the officer lets him know, man, you must have friends in high places, which Dario, fucking cool as a cucumber, replies, you don't even know the half of it. So he's done some time. Now, has he only been there a couple weeks? Has he been there a year? Has he been there? Has it been real time since Lucha Underground Season 2 ended and Season 3 has started? That's my best guess. 3 months seems like a really long time, but if you're getting arrested for murder, it's not that long at the end of the day. And of course, something I didn't even notice until I watched it the second time around. He goes to get his effects from one of the officers, and the officer giving him all his effects is the fucking Honky Tonk Man. It just completely went over my head for some reason. I just wasn't paying attention. It was the fucking Honky Tonk Man. Like, that is something I've never thought about, is having old wrestlers just do brief, completely like no reason to be there cameos. So it was awesome to see Honky Tonk Man in there. The best line of the whole show is he's giving us like there's one money clip, here's a tie, here's this, and one big key, and he hands it to him. And it was just a great season. I really, really adored it. So we go, as he's getting out, he gets picked up by I guess it was a senator or some form of businessman that we met last season. I don't believe we know his names either. But that same senator gets into the car or gets into a limo with Dario Cueto. And here's where shit gets weird already. They're both talking to a third figure you cannot see, whose voice is extremely distorted, but he is speaking in Spanish as far as I can tell. I assume it's Spanish because Dario Cueto can understand him, and we have no reference that Dario Cueto can speak any other language but Spanish and English. Maybe I'm just looking into it a little bit more. I don't know, but we'll see. And then we see a fist come down, and it's like fucking Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, just like his big metal gauntlet is just like sitting on the ground, and I was like, that's the most fucking ballin' ass nerdy shit I've seen in a really long time. So again, I said this a million times during our reviews for last season. One thing I think is going to be another big theme going throughout this season is going to be mystery. So expect a lot of loose ends in at least the first half of this season. And we're just going to get more and more because there's so much stuff left over from last season that we haven't even got to yet. How was Dario Cueto connected to the end of the world? How does the police department know that? How did he get bailed? We know a little bit about how he got bailed out. What is going on, and why is the temple important, and who is inevitably going to be the hero that saves the world? Because it's Lucha. Your good guys do win at the end of the day, which is cool. So we go straight into the temple. Couple things I did notice. This is the first time that the temple has ever recorded when it was daylight outside. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost 100% positive on that. Which I'm going to nitpick. Everything that has almost ever happened on Lucha Underground has happened at night. There's been a few vignettes for like PJ Black or Killshot or some folks here and there that was happening during the day, but even then, the filters that they use were real dark filters. But this is the first time I did it today, and it kind of took something a little away from me. It took a little bit of that mystique and grunginess that the temple had for me. But I mean, it's so nitpicky. It's so like didn't ruin anything for me, and it's still awesome. Couple other things I think I noticed right off the bat. If I'm not mistaken, this is a new map, or at least a new central Aztecian figure for the mat in the ring. It still looks dirty as all hell, and I don't know if that it is the same mat or if I just missed it somewhere. I'm fairly certain this is a new mat. But again, just nitpicky. I also think that since it's during the day, or I'm hoping this isn't going to transfer to the season, just being a technical theater guy that I was for so long, I noticed little things. Now, in past season, the filters they used on a lot of their show lights were yellow filters. Maybe some amber filters here and there. My favorite filter, if ever of all time, is called Amber Bastard. But they're using much deeper orange filters this year. And so it gives the temple a little bit of a different feel. It's a little bit of a brighter feel as compared to a grungier, dark feel. For me. And that very well could be just being meticulous and nitpicky, because it's something that I did work with so closely and I know about it. It didn't affect me in any way, but it did add a different glow to a lot of the wrestlers, which since almost all your wrestlers are Hispanic in this, it just gives them a glow as compared to the amber and the yellows that they did, which dulled. Which maybe it's because of who was wrestling, but it's something to keep in mind. So Dario Cueto comes out and he gives this big speech about how he's back and all this. So again, we have an undisclosed amount of time since he's been gone. And of course, the monster Matanza Cueto, his brother, which I'm starting to wonder about, is in the ring, and he talks about how he has defeated every person that's went up against him. But you can't not have somebody face the champion. You've got to have somebody face the champion. So what does Dario Cueto do? Pull out a fucking board, a wheel board, like a Wheel of Fortune thing called Dario's Dial of Doom. This thing is so fucking cheesy, and I love it. It was so fucking awesome. It's, oh man, it's so fucking nerdy. And I love it. Now, one thing they did do, again, this was me being nitpicky, is I wish they went with the Aztecian feel more and made it look like an Aztec dial as opposed to like a slasher novel or like a slasher movie dial. But since this is about Matanza, it makes sense that it's a slasher. It makes complete sense. I just personally like the aesthetics of that Aztecian style that is so prevalent throughout this entire show. Wish that was part of the dial. So, of course, he gives this big bastard a whirl, and Son of Havoc's the first person up. So Son of Havoc is going to get a title shot right then against Matanza Cueto for the belt. And the match is what it is. It was a good match. Son of Havoc did some cool stuff. You can tell, though, that Son of Havoc really had to slow down to keep up with Matanza. or for Montanza to be able to keep up with him. And I've never been super impressed with Son of Havoc. Not to say I don't like him. I really, really like him. But he's done a couple cool spots that I really like. But the last couple matches he had, he just didn't shine. He did do really, really well here. But it was hard for me to get invested in this match because we all know that he is going to lose. So how the board works is you have to have not faced Montanza in a singles match before. And as your name gets pulled, I assume it goes blank. Now, clearly this thing is rigged because watch how it spins because it just stops. But we all it's wrestling, guys. We know that. Don't complain about that if you're going to complain. So I like the idea of the dial of the new because it's so fucking cheesy and cool. And I just made this realization, but at the same time, it's kind of weird because everyone that fucking gets their name twirled is going to lose. You just know they're going to lose, so you're not going to have anything invested in the matches that happen with that. So I guess the whole point is just to feed them to Montanza to make him look like more of a beast. I already have a problem with Montanza looking like a beast because Pentagon Dark should have beat him last season. But maybe I'm just picking a little bit. So the next segment we get is, this was one of the weaker. I'm sorry, guys. I got to take the stupid thing off. This was one of the weaker segments of the night, but it's still really good. Worldwide Underground, which is Johnny Mundo's group, pops up into Dario Cueto. By the way, apparently nobody in Lucha Underground believes in knocking. I don't know if Dario Cueto has an open door policy. It certainly doesn't look like it because he's always looking annoyed. But people just bust up in there all the time. So fucking Johnny Mundo pops up in there, and they start talking about how that fucking dial's bullshit, and he wants a title match. Johnny Mundo, that is, but he's got his lackeys backing him up. And everything he says, one of them echoes it, and they're just being as obnoxious as humanly possible, which is good. That's making you dislike them. The point of a heel is it's somebody you want to see their ass get kicked. That's the only point of a heel. And if they're doing that, then they're doing a good job. So he's like, I want a champ, and then Cueto lets him know, okay, well, you lost the trios belts at Ultima Lucha, so no. And they're like, well, we only lost because of Angelico and flashback. We go to a flashback where Worldwide Underground beats up Angelico, I'm assuming, after the match. And then they all have a big laugh about it, which is weird. I don't know if Angelico was still injured at this point in time, and that's why they had to beat him up, and they're just writing him off for a little bit. It's interesting to see where that's going to go, because I'm not 100% certain. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. So he gets beat up. They all have a good laugh about it. And Dario Cueto fucking just literally. But no. Like, that's bullshit. It's like, well, you all lost at Lucha Underground, or at Ultima Lucha. But Taya didn't. You actually won. So you get a match tonight against Sexy Star. If you beat Sexy Star, you'll get a title shot. Which goes right into our next thing, which was Taya versus Sexy Star. It wasn't great. I mean, it is what it is. I really love Sexy Star, but I've yet to be impressed by Taya and anything that she's done. I've had a bunch of people tell me what she's done, and AAA has been really good and some of the other promotions, but that's just, I don't see much in her. I don't see her as one of the main contenders of the Lucha Underground belt. Since there is no women's belt, you're all going after the main belt, which brings up another point with Sexy Star having the Gift of the Gods championship. Nothing against Sexy Star. Sexy Star is one of my favorite female wrestlers in the world, and probably one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. Depending on who has the belt at that point in time, if she cashes in the Gift of the Gods, I just don't see her being the person that leads the pack. I don't see that being the face of Lucha Underground. There's three people I see that can be the face of Lucha Underground. Prince Puma, Rey Mysterio, and Pentagon Jr. And for whatever reason, they're just not going to give it to Pentagon Jr. And that's me being partly a fan and bitter but I am a fan. Why should I be bitter? I am a fan because Pentagon Jr. is one of my favorite wrestlers. He's easily in my top 5. And this match just wasn't there. If you're going to skip any part of this show, this is the match to skip because just nothing really happens. At the end, Worldwide Underground comes out and starts beating up on Sexy Star, and they're about to kick her ass. And then the Dream Team, as me and Dave Koco called him, Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix come in. They save the day. People in mask, yay! Segment ends. So we go to the third member of the original Trios champions. So Team Havoc, we'll call them. So Son of Havoc, we already saw, and Helico, we already saw. We're going to get a promo from Evilise, and she cuts us promos, a scathing promo against, the fuck is her name? Katrina. She got this big thing against Katrina. It was a good promo. She doesn't have the best promo skills in the world, but the cool thing that came out of this, we already have a match for Ultima Lucha Trace. These two are going to face each other in Ultima Lucha. That's fucking sweet as shit to me. I wish they would say fucking the Royal... the first thing, we'll say at Backlash. At Backlash, they're going to make a match for fucking WrestleMania. That's sweet as shit. I dig that. So that got me really, really pumped. They go back and forth, and that built it up. I believe we cut to commercial, and as we come back to commercial, we go for another Dario Cueto office segment, which these are easily some of the best segments in the entire show. And I don't mean just this episode. I mean throughout the entire history of Ultima Lucha. Some of the best stuff happens in Dario's office. By the way, what the fuck is Dario always working on? Like, he's always shown to be doing work and just like doing, like, what the fuck does he do? We have no idea what he actually does. Like, we just assume that the temple is everything, but obviously the fucker's doing other things. So he's sitting there doing his thing, and Marty the Moth comes in. Marty's all fucking creepy and super weird as he always is, and he says, I don't know, it gets a little weird. Eventually they bring up the fact about Killshot and how he still has his dog tags. It's like, okay, well, if you want to go further, then how about you beat Killshot again for those dog tags for real? And Marty Moth's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. It's like, but I'm not going to just leave it there, which is one of the best things about this show and the best thing about Dario Cueto. Whoever, and I don't know the guy's actual name, but what Dario excels at is giving you anticipation. He'll build up a suspense in you just by announcing a match. So he goes, we're not just going to make it a regular match. And he needs that perfect amount of time to let you dwell on it and wondering what it's going to be. And then he says it's going to be a weapons of mass destruction match. Now, I have no idea what that is. I assume this is going to be some type of hardcore match. And I don't know if that's the actor or the writers, or if, again, I'm just looking into it. But how he delivers news like that is he's so velvety in the way he looks and talks that you just ride on every word that he says. So he lets us know it's going to be a weapons of mass destruction match. And that builds up more suspense because now we know what it is, but we have no idea what the fuck it is. We have no idea. And that's super cool to me. So I'm really excited about what this match is going to be next month because I really like Killshot, and I think Marty the Moth is one of the most overlooked villains because, again, I don't think this show has baby faces and heels. I think he's one of the most overlooked villains in the show. So I'm really excited what those two are going to do against each other next week. So we get to the main event of the night, which was Pentagon Black, who's, again, one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers in the world, versus Rey Mysterio. This worried me because you just had fucking Pentagon Black go essentially Super Saiyan at the end of last season just to lose, and you're going to take him into this match against the King of Lucha. And I just don't see a good way of this ending without some type of fuckery. The match, though, man, this match is fantastic, and it absolutely shows the beast that Pentagon Jr. is. He essentially beats the shit out of Rey Mysterio the entire time. And he's just so fucking good at carrying himself, and his charisma inks out of every bit of him, even without speaking English. Me, as a non-Spanish speaker, has fallen in love with this guy, just the way he acts. And I hang on his promos just because of how intense he is. And I can't understand a fucking word of them without subtitles. But the match is great. And at one point in time, he just goes for false finish, and fucking Pentagon Jr., who is not a hero and he's not the villain of the story, he is the anti-hero. He's your Punisher, Wolverine, Aquaman, whatever you want to call him. He's that character of this show so far, which I think he's probably the most over guy on the show. He gets really annoyed with not being able to get to 3 count Rey Mysterio, and apparently decides to take it out on Vampiro. Well, then taking it out on Vampiro, he gets distracted, and Rey Mysterio gets the win. And Vampiro leaves. If for no unexplainable reason, he doesn't say why. He looks at Max Striker and says, I can't be here right now. I got to go. So he gets the win, which is... You're making, to me, that makes Pentagon Jr. look a little weak. If you don't agree with me, let me know why you don't think it makes him look weak. I mean, yeah, he got distracted, but Pentagon Jr. is supposed to be better than that, I think, because he got so focused going into that cave at the end of last season. I want to see a lot more out of it, because season 2 had a huge gap where Pentagon Jr. wasn't there. So, of course, I want to see him on every fucking show. So I'm hoping Pentagon's story in this blossoms, because clearly there wasn't a story here for either one of them. As we can see, this was kind of a really roundabout way to get into a story between Prince Puma and Vampiro, which I never would have thought of. And it was clearly one of the better parts of the night. The show closes with with Prince Puma just sitting there, and you can tell he's dwelling, and he's being very morose. And it is bothering him. And Vampiro comes and talks to him like a guy. He doesn't talk to him like Vampiro. Ian Hodgkinson goes and talks to him. Because I think that's kind of what we're getting away with from season 2 into 3 is Vampiro got control toward the end of season 2, and I think Ian Hodgkinson's kind of taking control again. Or maybe this is just Vampiro using Ian Hodgkinson to get what he needs. And that's just shit you don't think about in wrestling. Who fucking thinks about that in a wrestling? That's good storytelling in any setting, let alone a wrestling promotion. And it's brilliant. And so Vampiro tells him, your mind's beat up, kid. You're not in the game. You haven't been the same since you lost to Mil Muertes. And he's like, you got to beat Mil Muertes. If you want to be you again, if you want to be Prince Puma in the face of this place, you got to beat Mil Muertes. And he looks at him, and Prince Puma's like, oh, I'm surprised he didn't tell me to take out Pentagon Black. He's like, it's not about me, kid. It's all about you, which is mind-blowing to me, because that's, again, I think if this is the trilogy of books, this is Prince Puma has failed Empire Strikes Back. He was doing great in season 1. He was Luke, but he lost. So season 2 was his Empire Strikes Back. And now we're going into the Return of the Jedi, where he's on his final hero's journey, and he's going to be the one that saves everything. At least that's how I see it. And it was great. So, I mean, that's the end of the show. Not a lot more to talk about here. There was just, give it a watch. There were some fantastic elements in this show. And it's very, very clear that they are bumping up their storytelling a lot. And even there was I believe it's a Stone Cold podcast. You know, I listen to a lot of podcasts. There's a Stone Cold podcast with Vampiro where he said, like, just wait, because it's going to get even better. And if this is an indication of what's coming, this season is going to be an absolute treat. I don't have a lot in the way of comments right now, guys, except for Aubrey James did say that one of the theories is that the Lord is Dario Montanza's father. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe he's not Dario's father, and maybe he's Montanza's father, which would make sense. There is a good idea there, but no matter how cool we get, and unless you're getting spoilers, and if you're getting spoilers, fuck whoever you are. Not necessarily you, Aubrey James, just in general. But if you are dropping spoilers, fuck you. There's just nothing to go off. There's an absolute mystery here, and so that's great stuff. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, guys. As always, I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out at Twitter, KocoSports. Check me out at Twitter, at Sammy Synister. If I can ever figure out how to use the shit, Wrestling Ranton's been kind of getting on my ass about trying to get at it. And I'm not good at Twitter, admittingly. I'm old, man, and it confuses the holy shit out of me. I just do not get it. But check us out there. Of course, check out all our other reviews. LK, I just believe, finished a retro review for the Macho Man. I believe it was Macho Man, Ricky the Dragon, Steamboat, WrestleMania 3 for the Intercontinental Championships, which is one of the greatest matches of all time in any promotion. And I don't know if he had seen it before then, but I'm sure his mind was blown. That shit's absolutely amazing. So always, again, check us out there, guys. Stay creepy. Stay awesome. Love the blood. Love the horror. Love wrestling. Watch Lucha Underground. I cannot stress that enough. It's some of the best wrestling on TV, some of the best storytelling on TV, and some of the best visually appealing things on TV. So as always, guys, Cero Muero, keeping it real. I'll see you all on the flip side.